when two security guards blocked the entrance to Grace Memorial Baptist Church and told one of the most famous men on the planet to leave. Nobody inside heard it happen. The organ was playing Amazing Grace. 200 people were standing. And the man they were blocking was 7 feet 1 inch tall, weighed 325 pounds, and had driven through the night to be there. It was Tuesday, September 17, 2024, Newark, New Jersey. 11:47 a.m. The air smelled like rain coming. Red brick church, white columns, a bell tower silent for 6 years. Music. Shaquille O'Neal stood on the steps in a black suit. Size 23 dress shoes, polished that morning. His hands, wide enough to palm a basketball like an orange, hung at his sides. The shorter guard, name tag reading D. Phillips, put one hand up. The taller one, M. Santos, stepped to the side to block the door completely. "Sir," Phillips said. His voice was flat, professional. "This is a private service, family only." Shaq looked at him for 3 full seconds. "I know the family," he said quietly. "Your name's not on the list. Can you check again?" Phillips didn't check again. He didn't even look down. Music. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step back." Here's what nobody knew. Not the guards, not the people inside singing, "His eye is on the sparrow," while the September sun came through the stained glass in blue and gold rectangles. Not even the woman in the front pew, 71 years old, dressed in black, holding a folded flag that had covered a casket now closed forever. There was an envelope, cream-colored paper, sealed with red wax. Sitting in the office of Reverend Carl Morton, 40 feet away through 2 hallways and a storage room nobody had opened in months. Inside that envelope was a cashier's check for $14,700, dated August 3, 2024, signed by a trust with a name nobody in Newark had ever heard of. And when that check cleared 6 weeks ago, it paid for the church rental, the flowers, the organ player, the printed programs, the catering in the basement, and the headstone that would arrive in November with letters deep enough to last 100 years. The envelope also contained 3 handwritten sentences on unlined paper. No signature, just 8 words at the bottom in blue ink. "She believed in me when nobody else did." Stay with us through this entire video because what happens when Shaq walks away from those church steps, what he does 20 minutes later in a diner 4 blocks away, and who finally tells him the truth about why his name wasn't on that list, will break your heart and then rebuild it completely. Music. But to understand what happened next, you have to go back. You have to go back past the 4 championships, past the movies, past the endorsements, past the PhD, past all of it. You have to go back to 1984, Newark, New Jersey, a 12-year-old kid who was already 6 feet tall. Shaquille O'Neal was born March 6, 1972, Newark, New Jersey. His mother, Lucille O'Neal, raised him with one rule: a person who helps you when you have nothing is the person you help when you have everything. One of those people was Doreen Waller. Music. She taught 7th grade English at West Side High in Newark in 1984. Cardigans with pockets, a tin of butter cookies on her desk, a daughter named Jasmine, 9 years old. Doreen noticed things. She noticed Shaq came to school every day even when his stepfather was deployed. She noticed he sat in the back because he was too big for the desks. She noticed he read during lunch because lunch cost $1.75, and some days he didn't have it. One Thursday in October 1984, she asked him to stay after class. The other kids filed out, backpacks scraping desks, voices echoing down hallways that smelled like floor wax and chalk dust. She handed him a brown paper bag, folded at the top, warm from sitting near the radiator. Inside was a turkey sandwich, an apple that still had the grocery store sticker on it, a juice box, and a note written on lined notebook paper in blue ink that said, "You are going to be something extraordinary. I can see it. Don't let hunger tell you otherwise." Shaq looked at that bag for a long time. His throat got tight. Then he looked at her. "Thank you, Ms. Waller," he said. She did it again the next Thursday, and the next, for 6 months, every Thursday without fail, until his family transferred to Georgia in April 1985, and he never saw her again. 26 brown paper bags, 26 notes, 26 small moments that added up to something a 12-year-old kid couldn't name but knew he would remember forever. He was 12 years old when he left Newark. He thought about her sometimes over the years, wondered where she was, wondered if she knew what had happened to the kid she fed on Thursdays. But he didn't have her address, didn't know how to find her. Life got loud and bright and enormous, and Doreen Waller became a memory filed under people I should have thanked but didn't. Music. Fast forward to July 2024. Shaq's assistant, Marcus Chen, 31 years old, organized and precise, was sorting through 40 years of stored boxes in a warehouse in Orlando. Tax documents, old contracts, photographs from championship parades, and in a box labeled Personal 1980s, wrapped in a rubber band that had fossilized into something brittle and brown, Marcus found 11 handwritten notes, all from Doreen Waller, all from 7th grade, all ending the same way. You are going to be something extraordinary. Marcus took a photo of the signature. He ran a search. What he found was an obituary published in the Newark Star-Ledger on August 1, 2024. Music. Doreen Patricia Waller, 78 years old, passed away peacefully on July 29 at University Hospital in Newark after a brief illness. Survived by her daughter, Jasmine Waller Brooks, 49, and 2 grandchildren. Services to be held September 17 at Grace Memorial Baptist Church. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the Newark Public Library Children's Fund. Marcus printed the obituary. He walked into Shaq's office in Atlanta without knocking. He placed the paper on the desk. Shaq read it twice, the second time slower. Then he sat very still for 4 full seconds. Music. Find out who's handling the arrangements, Shaq said quietly. I want to help. Marcus made 6 phone calls. He spoke to a funeral director named Eugene Thornton, who explained that the family was handling everything privately. Very limited budget, very small service. He offered to pass along Shaq's condolences. That's not what I'm asking, Shaq said when Marcus relayed the message. I'm asking how much it costs, all of it. Marcus called back. Eugene gave him a number, $14,700. 3 days later, a cashier's check arrived by courier at Eugene Thornton's office. No return address, just instructions. Cover everything. Send the bill to the trust. Tell no one. And for 6 weeks, no one knew. Music. Now we return to September 17, 2024. The church steps, the 2 guards, the blocked door. Shaq stood there on the concrete for another few seconds. Then he nodded once. I understand, he said. He turned. He walked down the steps. He got into a black rental sedan parked across the street and sat in the driver's seat with the engine off. Through the windshield, he could see the church doors. He could see people arriving late, being waved inside without question. He could see the guards checking a clipboard every time. He sat there for 11 minutes. Then he drove to a diner called Shirley's Kitchen 4 blocks south. Vinyl booths, laminated menus. He ordered nothing. Just sat in the corner booth staring at sugar packets. The waitress, Denise, silver hair and sharp eyes, refilled his water. You okay, baby? No, ma'am, he said. I don't think I am. Music. She sat down across from him. Talk to me. He told her about Doreen Waller, the brown paper bags, finding the notes 40 years later, driving through the night. 2 security guards and a list his name wasn't on. Denise listened. Then she stood, walked to the counter, picked up the phone. Jasmine, it's Denise from Shirley's. Come down here right now. Don't ask questions. Just come. She looked at Shaq. Jasmine Waller Brooks is my niece. She'll be here in 10 minutes. How did you... Baby, this is Newark. Everybody knows everybody. And you're 7 feet tall in a suit at a diner 4 blocks from a funeral. Music. Jasmine Waller Brooks walked through the door 9 minutes later. Black dress, low heels. She had her mother's eyes. She stopped. You're Shaquille O'Neal. Yes, ma'am. Why are you at my mother's funeral? He stood. Because she saved my life. What are you talking about? He told her. 7th grade, the brown bags, the notes, 6 months of Thursdays. Jasmine pressed her hand over her mouth. Tears came immediately. Silent tears. Music. She never told me, Jasmine whispered. She wouldn't have, Shaq said. She wasn't that kind of person. Jasmine sat down. I tried to come to the service, Shaq said. They wouldn't let me in. I'm so sorry, I gave them a list. I didn't know. She stopped. My mother would have wanted you there. She doesn't owe me pride, Shaq said. I owe her everything. Long silence. Al Green played softly somewhere. Music. Can I tell you something? Jasmine said. When my mother got sick, I couldn't afford the funeral. I'm a school librarian, 2 kids in college. Then a check showed up, anonymous. It covered everything. I thought maybe the church, or a fund. She looked up at him. It was you. Shaq didn't say anything. It was you, she said louder. You paid for my mother's funeral. She fed me on Thursdays, he said, for 6 months, when I had nothing. Music. Jasmine put her head down on the table and cried. Deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere old and tired and grateful all at once. Her shoulders moved without sound at first. Then the sound came, raw and honest. The kind of crying that happens when something you've been carrying alone suddenly has a witness. Denise walked over and put her hand on her niece's shoulder, didn't say anything, just stood there with her palm flat against Jasmine's back. The diner went quiet. Even the radio seemed to lower its volume. Shaq sat very still, his enormous hands folded on the table like he was praying, letting her cry without trying to fix it, without offering words that would only make it about him when it needed to be about her. When she finally looked up, her face was red and wet. Come with me, she said. Right now. We're going back to that church, and I'm walking you through that door myself. They drove back together. Jasmine in her car, Shaq following in the rental sedan. The service was still going. The guards were still at the door. Jasmine walked up the steps first. He's with me, she said to Phillips. Ma'am, the list. I don't care about the list, she said. This is Shaquille O'Neal. He knew my mother, and he's coming inside. Phillips looked at Santos. Santos shrugged. They stepped aside. Music. Shaq walked through the doors of Grace Memorial Baptist Church, ducking under the doorframe. The organ had stopped. The eulogy was over. People were standing to leave when they saw him. 7 feet 1 inch tall in a black suit. The room went completely silent. Not the polite kind, the held breath kind. Jasmine led him to the front, down the center aisle, to the closed casket covered in white lilies. She stood beside him. This is Shaquille O'Neal, she said to the room. My mother taught him in 7th grade. He came here today to say goodbye. Shaq stepped forward. He placed one enormous hand on the polished wood. He didn't say anything out loud. He didn't need to. He stood there for 10 full seconds. Then he stepped back. The room stayed quiet. Then an old woman in the 3rd row stood up, then another. Then the whole church was standing, not applauding, not cheering, just standing in silent respect for a man who drove through the night to honor a woman who fed him on Thursdays 40 years ago. Music. 2 weeks later, Jasmine Waller Brooks received a call from the Newark Public Library. A donation had been made in Doreen Waller's name, $100,000. Enough to fund the children's reading program for the next 10 years. The donor was anonymous. The paperwork was filed through the same trust that paid for the funeral. Jasmine knew. She didn't say anything publicly, but she knew. On November 4th, 2024, the headstone arrived. Black granite. Letters carved deep. It read, Doreen Patricia Waller, beloved mother, extraordinary teacher. She saw the best in everyone. At the bottom, smaller, almost hidden, she believed in me when nobody else did. Outside Grace Memorial Baptist Church, the bell tower stands silent. The red brick glows in the autumn light. And somewhere inside, in a storage room nobody opens, an envelope with red wax still sits in a filing cabinet, holding 8 words that changed everything. Music. Because somewhere out there right now, there's a teacher packing a lunch for a kid who doesn't have one. There's a stranger paying for something anonymously. There's a person doing a small kindness that will echo for 40 years in ways they will never see or know. And that is the story of how a brown paper bag on a Thursday became a funeral, a library, and a legacy that will outlive all of us. Before you go, drop a comment right now and tell us where you are watching from. We read every single one. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of a teacher or a stranger or a moment that changed your life, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe if you believe small acts of kindness are worth remembering. Click the video on your screen now because the next story is already waiting. We'll see you there.